So let's see if this is working. Okay, looks like the stream is working. Okie dokie. I can only see so much from here because I don't have multiple, I can't monitor both platforms at the same time, but I got it kind of staged like I did the other day where I'm streaming here from Rumble and it parallels over onto YouTube. So it's a cool new thing. I've heard about it, but I've never done it before. I've also learned that I could probably, I guess if I felt like it, I could go to Twitch, Facebook, X, TikTok, a couple of others. But I'm not that really socially integrated. I just have this little tiny world where I hang out with you guys. And maybe I'll figure out how to do X, but my X account is very, very tiny. As far as I know, I have to have 500 followers on X before I could qualify to, put on a live stream. So this is what we've got. This is it. It's just YouTube and Rumble. Every now and again, when I can organize and get it together, I can do a little stream for you guys. Most of you know I like to focus on the astrology. Occasionally I do tarot readings like I did on, I think it was Sunday night when I did the actual trial for the double stream of YouTube and Rumble, and it worked. It worked. I could tell after the show, I could tell that it actually worked. Anyway, here we are. It's been another crazy day. Let's just go back over here for a second. So we might as well enjoy this while we can. It's a very beautiful, sweet, and very powerful chart. We have this massive kite here, right on the cusps, very close to the cusps. A couple of degrees here off the cusp, right on the cusp, right on the cusp, right on the cusp. So it's a very powerful kite. The kite is moving, pivoting around the moon, so it's very fast. It's not going to last long. It's only for a few hours, really. Maybe, 6 hours, 4, 5, 6 hours at the most. But it's here, and it's absolutely gorgeous. You can see why they call it a kite. And one of the things that is inherent with the kite is this very powerful opposition. The kite is inherently very powerful itself because it has this massive grand trine at the center, but it's also supported by these two powerful sextiles over here. So opportunity, opportunity, plus harmony, harmony, harmony. It's very, very good news for these specific points as they land in your personal chart. And also for the world. This is how it looks for the world. So again, I see it as an amazing, incredible, fleeting moment of opportunity for evolution to radically improve our behavior as a species so that we don't collapse as a species, because we have become very, very good at self-destruction to the point where our whole species is literally at risk at this point. In case you hadn't figured it out already, we have kind of reached peak population and peak ability to self-destruct. Nuclear capabilities all over the place, North Korea, China, Russia, America, to name a few. I think India and Pakistan. I'm not sure who else. Anyway, as you know, there's a lot of very violent stuff happening across the world. And we predicted that many, many months ago when Mars was way over here, heading towards Pluto over here. We were saying we're going to reach extreme hyperviolence over here, and that's what happened. And now we're living with the actual manifestation of the hyperviolence. Mars has moved on over here into Pisces, so we are seeing like the most sick and depraved forms of violence that exist. All the most horrible things, just all the way from horrible things that people do to women and children, horrible things that people do to other countries. It's just a nightmare scenario. And it's very sad. We live in such a way that I mean, it's great when it says thou shalt not kill, but what do? Do you just turn away and say, okay, well, you just kill me because I know you don't like me? No, no, what are you going to do? So anyway, it's kind of a stark world at the moment where we have this very vivid expression of good versus evil. We've been dealing with that building up over the last 14 years. It reached a crescendo under the Biden administration, and now it's full blast on the world stage. We can see it. There's nowhere for the evil to hide. It is fully exposed, and now we're hoping to get it accountable. Saturn is in Aries right there. Neptune is in Aries, going to do everything it can to avoid its sovereignty and its accountability to itself. It's kind of sad, very tragic. The Sun is in Aries right now, getting close to the 15-degree mark of maximum power. So we're seeing that in terms of the war in Iran, but also the other warlike activities that went on in Venezuela, Ecuador, Central America over here, and also in Cuba over here, also Ukraine and Russia over here. It's very ballistic. There's a lot of turmoil happening over here between Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, because they're basically a bunch of gangsters that have been operating as gangsters for a long time, and their business model is kind of being strained and falling apart. Their relationships with each other are being very strained at the moment. Iran has been an incredibly effective, powerful proxy for the British Empire and their extortion racket, their protection racket. China has had a powerful alliance with Iran in terms of moving Chinese power further towards Europe with the Belt and Road Initiative. That has now collapsed. Russia has a powerful alliance with Iran regarding oil shipments and pipelines and weapons back and forth, and so on. North Korea has been over here on the side with some of its advanced military developments, basically causing a lot of confusion all over the world. They're basically trying to show the world that here we are, little North Korea, we can blow up America anytime we want. We don't have to answer to China anymore. We don't have to answer to Russia anymore. We don't have to have anything to do with Iran. We are our own one-stop thug operation. Thank you very much. We're just as awesome as the Chinese Communist Party and Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and the Ayatollah death cult. Yeah, all of that. There's also a lot of horrific stuff going on in Africa, but it's not getting a lot of attention because I guess it's just swimming in poverty and like, okay, who cares about all the poor people? They've been slaughtering each other for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and it's just another day in Africa. So people just don't bother to report it, but the slaughter is horrific. So anyway, there we go, on that happy note. Relationships are extremely strained at the moment, which is part of the kite. The kite is there supporting everything in a harmonious, powerful, opportunistic way that will hopefully allow us to sort out some extremely dysfunctional relationships. The most obvious one being with America and Iran, or the whole world with Iran, or America with China, America with the globalists, especially France and Spain and some of the other countries over here. These are very hyper-stressed relationships. Here, here, here. Also, all throughout here. Very, very strained relationships where Trump is giving himself permission to use the Donroe doctrine of we will do what we have to do to protect and defend and reclaim America, and if you can't handle it, that's your problem. So that's what he's doing right now. He's basically, all of his actions right now, all of his decisions, all of his policies are to make America great again, using strength, in this case, military strength, okay? Which often means killing and destroying things that are perceived to be the enemy. And that's just how it is. It's the same thing as your biological self. Same thing as your biological self. What do you do if you're infected with parasites, worms, fungi, cancer, allergies, diseases of some kind? What are you going to do? You're just going to sit there and let yourself rot? Or are you going to allow your natural immune system to fight back and kill the enemy? As a species, we're doing exactly the same thing. As an organism called the Americas, as an organism called North America or United States, we're doing exactly the same thing. We're killing off what's trying to kill us. That's it. Real simple. Anyway, on that scary note, let me just go through a few of my notes for you. Where did I put them? They're all lost. Hold on. They're not all lost. Where did I just go? Oh, hold on. Give me a second. I got to get organized here. I thought I was organized, but obviously not. Yeah, I'm going to pull up two sets of notes here. Okay, let's see, how can I do this? All right, let's try this. All right, what I've got, this is from early this morning. You may or may not know or care, but there's been some very extensive meetings going on in Pakistan where some of our American people have been talking with some of the Iranian people and some of their proxies to try and figure out what are we going to do about this war. We're not allowed to talk about it. Iran's not allowed to talk about it because it shows weakness. So the media, especially the mainstream media, is presenting to the world that Iran is not negotiating. Iran has told Donald Trump and America that this is what's going to happen. You're going to back off. You're going to cease fire completely. You're going to pay for all the damage that you've done, and you're going to allow us to do what we're just going to go and keep making our bombs and missiles and nukes. Thank you very much. In other words, there's nothing, there's no concession, there's no meaningful discussion. The actual team is over there in Pakistan. Peter Navarro, Scott Bessent has been there effectively, J.D. Vance and Jameson Greer, even if they're doing it by remote. It's effectively a declaration of a revolution. America is basically saying, excuse me, the way things have been operating is now over. We are dismantling the protection racket, the extortion racket that's been operating for 47 years thanks to the British Empire, the Bank of England, the City of London, Lloyd's Insurance, with its enforcement, the actual attack dog being Iran, to terrorize the world, which allows them to operate their protection racket, extortion racket, to extract large insurance premiums, and hundreds of billions over the decades, probably in the trillions, to allow the oil to flow. And every time the empire gets hungry or greedy, they expand the terrorism, tell the world, we're going to go nuclear, Iran's going to go nuclear at any moment, so you better calm down and do what you're told and just pay more money for your oil, because that's the only way, that's the only solution. Oil prices are just going to have to go up and up and up and up. There's nothing we can do about it. We're the British Empire, Chevron, BP, and all whoever it is. And that's just how it is for the world. I'm sorry, folks. And so all the profits go to the big oil companies and the extortion and the protection racket, and the rest of the world pays. But Donald Trump in America is sick of it, because we've been getting screwed for so long because of globalism and globalized fair trade. And so we decided, like, we're just going to put an end to this racket. It's literally racketeering. So that's really what's going on behind the war. And because the British Empire and their cronies are at the epicenter, those are the folks who have actually been excluded from the meetings. You would think the British Empire would be deeply aligned with America, but it's not. America is now formally separating from the British Empire, the globalists, World Economic Forum, and so on. All right. So it's Team Trump completely upending the global economy. So you can expect huge amounts of turbulence and upheaval for the rest of this year as a consequence of this reorientation. We're going back to the American system. 1776, getting rid of globalism and so-called fair trade, so-called United Nations, so-called World Trade Organization, so-called North Atlantic Free Trade Association. All that stuff is going into the incinerator. Right now, I've been tracking Iran. It's just getting absolutely blasted, completely blasted. We've got our B-52s, our B-1s, and B-2s just round the clock. Heavy, heavy, heavy bombing, taking out infrastructure and so on. Hezbollah, one of the Iran proxies, is getting blasted by Israel. Israel is getting blasted by Iran. Every now and again, one of the Iranian missiles or the Hezbollah are getting through. So Israel is having a pretty bumpy time. Back to the United States, we've been doing these massive bombing campaigns, and more IRGC leaders have been killed. Four earlier today. And I think there was a couple more later on in the day. It's basically a massive lethal campaign, and we're looking at the possibility of ground troops moving in. Just a rapid update. The aircraft carrier Gerald R. Ford is going over to the island of Crete in the Mediterranean for repairs because of the fire in the laundry room that caused a lot of problems. And so the other aircraft carrier, another one called the Abraham Lincoln, is now moving into the war zone to take over. And we've also got some freaking amazing submarines moving in as well. These are nuclear subs that carry about 150 Tomahawk devastating missiles. And so it's just full-on major offense, just blowing up everything. Trump just announced later today, just before I came on, that he's expecting another 2 more weeks of just massive obliteration, possibly troops, and by that time it will be exhaustion. The main ability for Iran to be hostile will be exhausted. There'll still be nasty, horrible things going on because you're going to have individual operatives, like literally individuals who are going to go totally psychotic and act on their dead man switch programming to do despicable things to anybody, anywhere, because that's how the death cult operates. So there you go. Trump has been having a lot of fun today, basically giving the middle finger here and there. I think I got a long list. It's kind of fun. I like this, of course, because you know I'm kind of on the side. I'm just going to my little archive here, okay, so bear with me. Let's go back to this morning. No. Oh, sorry. Hold on. No, I don't want that. I don't want to do Tiger Woods. I'm sorry, poor guy. I don't actually feel sorry for him. He's just some rich dude who takes a lot of opioids, and he got in trouble. Anyway, let me go back here, scroll through, and I'll try and do it in order. Okay, we already announced that Takaishi, the new Prime Minister of Japan, is not accepting any illegals or immigrants. Thank you very much. We also had Donald Trump announcing some of his outrageous words about how he's going to take down Iran. We also had a posting. It looks like a spreadsheet. It's like a spreadsheet here of all the funding, the top level financiers of the No Kings protests across America. It's so pathetic to watch. But anyway, they have amassed so far 294 million on record. That's a lot of money. And, excuse me, it's all taxpayer money if you understand how the machine works. It's disgusting, evil. Trump belting out. See if I can get this one live here. Well, let me just check in. This one's funny. You can tell how much he doesn't care. Here we go. This is from Donald himself. All those countries that cannot get jet fuel because of the Straits of Hormuz being closed, like what's happening in the United Kingdom, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the USA. We have plenty of oil and gas. And number two, maybe you could build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait and just take your oil. But you have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore. Just like you were there, you were not there for us. Go. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. Beautiful. Where did my messages go? Now I've lost it. Okay, here we go. So, I put a nice update about the war from Dave Hexted. All right. You've probably heard this one. This is just a funny one as well. Hello, Ivona. I'm doing my dual stream with Rumble and YouTube tonight. I was prompted by Necessary Truth, and it took me about a week, but I finally figured it out. I had to take a slightly different path, but it works. I don't know if you've seen this one. I thought it was hilarious. You know Kid Rock? I don't know him very well, but he's a kind of a rock star, pop star, rock star. He's very good buddies with Donald Trump. I think he lives down in Tennessee. He lives in a mansion that was built to look like a miniature White House. And anyway, there's Kid Rock. I've got it on my X if you're interested. You can scroll down. Kid Rock was hanging out at his mansion outside in the pool, and a couple of U.S. Army helicopters flew right up to the pool. And they were kind of like doing a little bit of this, like, my guess is that they were saying, "Hey there, kid, how are you doing?" Of course, this is not normal practice. I understand that the helicopters were actually supposed to be surveying some stupid behavior regarding a No Kings protest. I think it was near Nashville or something. Ridiculous. It was very, very funny. And so, just check that one out if you want. More updates. What I did here today on my X is I put some updates from different perspectives. I did a perspective from India, which has there's a Muslim faction over there, kind of like Pakistan type faction. And so their perspective on the Epic Fury campaign in Iran is but it's pretty obviously biased in favor of Iran. If you watch through the different headlines and news reports, it all reads as though Iran is going to take over, it's going to win, and Donald Trump is on his knees begging begging for concessions and everything you can imagine. And then I went over to Al Jazeera, which is another amazing source. I think it's based in Qatar or the United Arab Emirates, so it has an Islamic, Muslim, Arab world perspective, and it's a little bit more neutral, but again biased towards the Arab, Muslim, Islamic culture. In that, it's things are Iran's fighting back, and Donald Trump is delusional, and so on. Another one I got an update is that Trump is extremely pissed. I don't know if you heard about this. This came out a few hours ago. He has summoned all the huge major American insurance companies to the White House, but in particular the ones that have denied, delayed, deleted any insurance support for victims of the California fires, especially the Palisades fires, the Malibu fires, and the fires up in the mountains over there. He's very, very pissed at them because none of that should have happened. I'm sure he's... Oh, what's that? Hold on. What's that? Let me... Hello, cowgirl. What's up? I'm just reading the notes there. Hold on. Kid Rock put together a number of USO-type events for the military. The video is on the Gateway Pundit. Hegseth said, not a problem. With the help of the pilots, they did nothing wrong. I thought it was hilarious. Anyway, back to the fires in California. Trump has not forgotten. He's really, really pissed. So he's going to do a Saturn and Aries thing, I believe, and he's going to try and hold some of these insurance companies accountable because it's a massive racket, as you know. It's a massive cartel. The insurance companies typically operate as a protection racket cartel to protect themselves, especially when there's, massive disasters or huge claims potentially because of massive storms. All of a sudden, if you read the tiniest small print at the bottom of the small print at the bottom of the small print, you'll realize we can't actually insure you. We can't pay you any kind of, coverage. I'm so sorry. You've lost everything. Goodbye. Thank you for your business. So Trump is very, very pissed off at that. Trump also had a lot of fun today signing the Voter Integrity Act. This is part of his campaign to the Save America Act, okay? So he's already got executive orders in place regarding how the United States Postal Service works, how the mail-in ballots are going to work, how you're going to be able to get your voter registration to be legal, with citizenship and so on, and IDs and so on. So that's fantastic. There's another update about Iran. Yet more. There were even more IRGC leaders killed today. The Tehran airport just got bombed out. The whole freaking place, the airstrips, the landing strips, and a lot of planes got bombed out. This is the commercial airport of Tehran. We got the nuke sites bombed. I'm sure you've seen all that footage by now. It is spectacular. I mentioned how the aircraft carriers have flipped. The Ford is out, the Abe Lincoln is in, and we've just had a U.S. reporter, female reporter, kidnapped in Iraq by some IRGC rogue kidnappers. And also, of course, like I said, the negotiations are not going well at all. In fact, they're not really happening. They're just fake negotiations, really. Yeah. Hold on, I had something here. Hold on. Yep. I don't think I can update more because there's so much what's that? Bum 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 Marin. I know that song's from the Beach Boys. Yep. Hello, Jennifer Schwab. Hello, I hope I'm doing well. I am. I'm trying. Hello, Mr. Ross. Good evening. I see you there. You're not late. You're never late. It's just I don't know what time I ever go on. That's all. Oh boy. So obviously, if you scan a lot of the world headlines, you'll know that things. Hold on. Let me just do this. Let me go back to the map for a minute. So with this Iran war, okay, if you go through the different layers and everything, we are going to be okay. Yes, we're going to have gasoline prices high for a while. Yeah, we're going to have problems with urea for fertilizer and farming for a while. But we are still heavily protected and insulated compared to the rest of the world. Trump knows that. We know that. And so the thing is that a lot of other countries are not so fortunate. There are a lot of places over here, Japan, China, South Korea, most of Southeast Asia, India, Australia, and New Zealand, they're freaking out right now because they get almost all their oil and gas from here. It just goes through container ships. Hundreds and hundreds of container ships that just do this all day, every day. All day, every day. New Zealand imports all of its oil and gas. And so does China. So it's a bit of a problem. There's different layers to the layer cake about how it all works. So some people are suggesting that there is a bigger strategy than just trying to shut down the Iran extortion racket, protection racket of the British Empire and the globalists. The secondary, deeper intention is to very subtly, quietly, and let's say indetectably choke the Chinese economy, choke the Chinese military, choke the Chinese Communist Party, choke Xi Jinping from being able to do what he wants to do. And it's happening. It's actually working. It's a bit of a problem because the same method to choke China is affecting everyone else. So there's a lot of pain over here, and they're all trying to figure out what are we going to do. Panic, panic, panic. Same thing over in Europe. And like parts of France and Europe and Spain are like, huh, Trump. There's no respect. And of course Trump is saying, well, if you really want your oil that you normally get from here, why don't you come over here and help? But no, we didn't start that war. We're not going to get our hands dirty. And then Trump says, well, okay, good luck, have fun. Get your own oil then. Goodbye. In other words, Trump is completely blowing off the British Empire and the globalist system. And this is just one step in the process. And we're going to be creating the new rekindled version of the American system, which is all about making this great again and working it through here. I tell you, one day I'm going to go visit El Salvador because they have done a kind of a miracle turnaround with their country. And they, what's the word? What's that expression? I don't know if you've seen some of the speeches from Nayib Bukele. And he doesn't apologize for his policies. He basically says, in El Salvador, we had to technically, surgically remove all of the rogue judges that were acting as communists and criminals and just corrupt, evil actors. Get rid of them and actually abide by the law and bring in new judges. So that's what they did. And he also said, guess what? Incarceration works. We've taken tens and tens of thousands of criminals off of the streets, destroyed the gangs, and guess what? El Salvador is beautiful. I don't know if you've seen some of the footage of the before and after life in El Salvador, but people are coming from all over the world to see what it looks like when you transform a country from the inside out by policy, according to someone who actually cares for their country and their people. Bukele doesn't apologize. They have very, very strict laws now, and so it's a very safe place. Crime is down, almost indetectable. The streets are cleaned up. I don't know much about it apart from that, but Bukele and Trump are really good buddies, sort of like, Javier Milei over there in Argentina and a couple of guys over there in Europe, I think in Poland and Hungary. Trump loves those guys. He also likes Giorgia Meloni over there in Italy because they are pro-Trump, making their countries great again, get rid of the migration. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but there was a massive flip. I probably got it in my notes, I don't know. But there was a massive flip, and it completely shocked the European Union leaders. I don't know how it happened, but a massive surge of votes went towards remigration. In other words, huge chunks of the European Union, NATO, decided enough is enough. We're not going to deal with this globalist open borders garbage anymore. Get rid of the World Economic Forum. Get rid of the European Union. We're going to get rid of these illegals forcibly. That just came out yesterday. I think it's fantastic. We still have... What was that? Hold on, let me check your notes again. Oh, Bomb Bomb. Yeah, that's a lovely old song. You're on the Rumble. Okay, you can be on Rumble or YouTube. Okay. Almost all of those countries are woke, lefty lunatics anyway. Yeah, it's true. Mr. Ross, hey, just send a little thank you. Wow, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ross. I would love to go there, I've been all over Central America and places like that. I've been held up at gunpoint. I've been thrown in prison. I've been hijacked, assaulted, and robbed. I'm a little bit scared of culture south of the border. I also appreciate the really good stuff about the culture south of the border, but sadly for me personally, I had so much trauma that I'm more frightened of the culture than I am accepting of the culture. However, I would like to go to El Salvador. I would also like to go to Argentina, just to see for myself what a real transformation looks like. How do you get out of communism and chaos? Next thing was going to be Cuba. Trump is going after Cuba as well. We're also doing all these hot wars in Mexico and Central America to take out the drug cartels operations, also in Ecuador and Peru and Colombia. So there's a lot of war going on, but it's basically a massive cleanup campaign. It's the American immune system being activated and doing what it has to do to make America healthy and great again. So I'm all in favor. So I'm really happy about what's happening. I would not want to be on the receiving end of the Don Rowe, Donald Trump doctrine. No, no, no. Bad, bad news. I feel very sorry for the British. They are going to have to fight back themselves. I'm sure you've heard of Tommy Robinson by now. He is an absolute firebrand, and he's bringing the British back together to hopefully reclaim their country and get it out away from the communists and the whole of that woke garbage. England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, heavily, heavily infected. It's a lot worse for them than it is in America. We've got it bad here, but it's much worse for them. It's much harder for them to fight back because they don't have our Constitution in those colonies. That's the British Empire. That's the remnants of the British Empire. They don't have our Constitution. They don't have gun rights. We have gun rights. It's the Second Amendment. The First Amendment is freedom of speech, which gives us everything. The Second Amendment is there to protect the First Amendment. So, I'm very happy to see all that. There's just so much turbulence right now, but again, this is all expected. If you look at the chart, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus are all right at these crisis points, these trigger points. 27, 28, 29 degrees before the zero, and then 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's about a 5 or 6 degree spread each side of the exact cusp. And that's where we are for the transpersonal planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So it is inevitable that we're going to go through a very long, protracted, convulsive evolutionary upheaval. So the best thing to do is get on the wave and go with it and be prepared for upheaval. Like understand and accept that a lot of your belief systems, your understandings, your safety rails, your vision of life in the world and the universe may be upended, distorted, destabilized in such a way that's very, very uncomfortable. Personally, I'm enjoying this. I mean, I've been preparing for this for a long time. I'm aware of the dynamics, and even though I have some issues and I am affected, just like everyone else, I'm affected in my own personal way, like you're affected in your own personal way. The planet is affected. Every country is affected in its own personal way. And effectively, really affected, when you distill everything down to Pluto, it boils down to two components: tyranny and freedom. Freedom is demanding release from tyranny. Tyranny is saying, no, 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 you can't do that. We cannot function unless we have you under complete tyrannical control. So we're not going to let that happen. And then the freedom lovers like me are saying, oh yeah, watch this. Bomb, 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 bomb Iran, and so on. And the same story is happening inside America. Trump is waging war on the people who hate America. There's what, probably at least 55 million people voted for, who was it? Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. If you can actually believe that, 55 million people voted for them. If they had actually won, America would be, I wouldn't be here. I would have left. I would have gone somewhere and deep, deep, deep into hiding. But anyway, so we have our own war here inside America, and that's the enemy within. We have a lot of enemies within. We have Americans themselves, American extreme left-wing liberals and Democrats who are doing everything they can to try and destroy the country that gives them so much. Doesn't make any sense to me. And then you have the variations where you have Chinese sleeper cells, Russian sleeper cells, Islamic terrorist cells, and so on, looking for ways to destroy America from within. Then you have all the fraud, waste, and abuse that's being exploited by all the commie left-wing operators, California, Minnesota, New York, Maine, Illinois, and so on and so on. It's so bad. It's just so bad, but it's been fully exposed. It became fully exposed in the last 5 years, last 4 years under Biden, and then now that it's fully exposed, basically while Neptune was in Pisces at the crisis degrees, now we have And then we had the sun going through Pisces for the last 30 days, Pisces season, shining full spotlights on all the evil across the world. Now the sun is in Aries, so it's all about the war, the fight against evil. Saturn is holding evil accountable. Neptune is trying to avoid accountability. The sun will prevail. Goodness and freedom will prevail. It's going to be a bumpy ride. What's that? Yeah, it's on my bucket list. Hey, Tommy, yeah. Oh, so you've heard of Tommy Robinson, yeah. He's got a very thick British accent. He's from Luton, which is one of those Midlands countries. Sometimes the Midlands cities in England, they have very thick accents all over the country. I used to live there for a long time. I used to pride myself being able to tell what part of the country you live by your accent. Anyway, what's that? Big hat, no cattle. I'd say, well, necessary funny because we raised cattle, huh? Bomb around, yeah. Yeah, we're so incredibly lucky in America. We have some of the best agricultural land in the world. We have massive oil and gas resources. We have huge amounts of water, even though our water policies are very disturbing right now. Natural resources, beautiful. We got the mountains, we got the oceans, we got the prairies, we got the deserts. And we're going to be reindustrialized. I don't know what's going to happen with the whole employment thing, because you can't stop this artificial intelligence stuff. It's very, very disruptive. That is the Uranus in Gemini journey into which we are heading right now. That happened. That's going to go full speed in July. Sorry, let's see, April. Let me just show you here. Just a little bit of an advance notice. So we're getting a lot of activity right now with artificial intelligence. It's building up. It's been building up for years and years and years. But now, as we get out of March, tonight is the last day of March, and tomorrow we have a full moon over here in April. And at the end of April, Uranus is moving into Gemini. So we're going to see huge amounts of chaos in the global financial system, one way or another, and also huge amounts of shift with like the science and the technology of artificial intelligence. It is going to create massive upheaval all across the world in some way or another. And we've never been here before, so we don't know the details of what it's going to look like. There are a lot of people deep inside the AI world who are saying we need to be extremely careful, very, very careful, because it's like, it's almost like, what do you call it, like a runaway train expression, you know? Oh, sorry, allergies, bad allergies, sorry. And then in May, our dear friend Pluto goes retrograde. So that means all this progress over here from Pluto to 0 to 1, 2, 3 is going to go back to 3, 2, 1. So, anyway, we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that at the time. Oh boy. The Bible says that which will be made known, that which is secret will be brought to light. Cowgirl, you're very rural. You got no neighbors, cattle, you got cattle and chickens, wells, generators, solar, long-term food, protection, etc. Well, I've got, actually, what's that expression? What's that expression? Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard that one? First rule of prepping. Don't ever tell anyone you're a prepper. Why? Because once people find out you're a prepper, they're going to know, like, wait a minute, You've got a generator to make electricity? It means you must have gasoline. Oh, whoa, that means you must have storage and secret storage somewhere, which means you probably have water as well. And oh my God, if you got all that, that means you probably got extra food stored. Maybe you got chickens. So yeah, yeah, you gotta have all those things. It's funny because excuse me, I've got these allergies, man. Oh God. Excuse me, hold on. Where I live right now, uh, the it's very kind of open zoning. It's a suburban part of the city, and some of the lots are about an acre in size over here, and a lot of the families like to have multiple layers of family in the building. So you'll see a fairly decent sized ranch house with 5 or 6 trucks and 3 cars outside, and a big pile of fencing and chickens and goats and little mini horses and things like that. I can often hear chickens just a few houses down the street. In fact, a few years ago I had to rescue a chicken. I was just pulling in, parking up, I was just going grocery shopping, and I found a chicken on the street, just walking down the neighborhood. And so I went up to it and said, "Hey, you poor little chicken, come here, come here, come here, come here, come on, come on, come on." And the chicken responded. I think the little chicken was frightened and lost. I don't know how that happened, but and I picked up the chicken, I put it in a little cardboard box. And and then I kind of put the lid on it, and I walked up and down the neighborhood just listening for chickens, and I found a house that had chickens. And I knocked on the door and I said, "Are you missing a chicken?" And they went, "Oh, yeah, sí, señor, sí, señor, yeah. Here's your chicken." Yeah, mm-hmm. You got 60 acres. Wow. My God. So I come from farming families. My mother's side was all farming, and my father's side was all farming. My mother's side, it was very old school, multi-generational farming, French Canadian, way up in the Quebecois Montreal area. Heavy winters, beautiful summers, mountains and forests. And they had a maple farm, maple syrup farm. And somehow or other, I guess from lightning, it all got burned down. So my granddad switched to cattle to do dairy. And that went bad. And the cattle all got, I think it was tuberculosis or pneumonia, and they all died. And that was the end of that. And so he didn't know what to do. So he turned into a mops and broom salesman and got a little truck and went down south to Connecticut, where there was a lot of activity on the south coast, building Navy ships, and moved his family there. So that's where I come from on my mom's side. And on my dad's side, it was all wheat farming, corn and wheat, back in Kansas and Nebraska. And so you put that together. So it's kind of in my blood, but I'm not a farmer. I lived and worked on a farm for a few years, but it wasn't really my nature. I felt that it just didn't feel like a match in this lifetime. I've been a farmer in other lifetimes for sure, many times. What was that? We were talking about the chicken and they ate it that night. Sorry, that's not funny. I'm sorry. I've been having weird surges lately about animal welfare, because I feel deep down, regarding the astrology and everything, what's happening for me personally, I'll give you a tiny clue. I feel a massive reorientation is happening in my life where I'm probably going to be involved in animal welfare in some way or another. I don't know how. It probably won't be direct hands-on, but I don't know. We'll see. All your cattle are holistic, no jobs, no poison, never sick. That's my God. Wow. Can you get in touch with me, please? I would like to connect with you, please. I've got a couple of things I'd like to ask you. Here's where you can reach me. You can go to terralumination.com, scroll down, and there's an email. You can reach me there. Would you please, cowgirl? Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Teal is right. I'm Italian from New York. Rule number 1, code of silence. Yeah, I don't know why it's happening. Well, actually, I do know why this animal welfare is starting to bubble up inside me. Ever since I was a little tiny kid, 5 or 6 years old, I had issues with people who mess with animals. And I have had some very serious encounters with people who mess with animals. I've had people put in prison. I've had people evicted from their homes. I have chased people out of their situation for messing with animals. I've also sadly had to put animals to sleep using my bare hands because they were beyond saving, and I had to do it in very dire situations. Okay? And there was one time where I was almost tempted to use my self-defense device in order to do what had to be done, in order to administer justice to an offender. There was one offender that I decided I'm going to have to just take him out. I'm sorry, I don't care anymore. I'm going to be judge, jury, and executioner. And I'm glad I didn't, otherwise I would be the one in prison. So anyway, it still gets to me. Every now and again something happens and I get really, it's buried so deep inside of me, and I'm at a point in my life where I'm thinking maybe, I don't know what it's going to look like, but maybe over the years it'll show up and I'll share the story. I just don't know yet. Greek and Italian. Okay, well, they're all about family and farms, for sure. Yeah, I don't have any Greek, I don't have any Italian. My mom is basically French and my dad is basically German. And so, yeah, I'm a Euro mutt. So you too, you are a Euro mutt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of the things you can do, I've learned a lot of things, I've done a lot of things. You can, it's amazing what you, well, the thing about prepping, it's circumstantial. If you live in a small apartment in a city, it's hard. Probably the best thing you can do is just stash enormous amounts of cash. Maybe a few gallons of water, maybe a few boxes full of canned meat, canned foods, canned fruits and vegetables, and so on. Some basic tools, you know. Here's an example. Let me just show you something. Give me a second here. These little things. I love this little thing. It's been extremely useful to me. I like my tools. Over my life, I've had a very nomadic life. I've lived here, 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 and here. And it's kind of nomadic. I've left a lot of things behind, friends and family and people and stuff. I have very, very little stuff, and some of the things I cherish the most are tools, like a Stanley knife, a screwdriver, a wrench, a socket set, um, basic tools, hex wrenches, and so on. But this little thing here, let me show you. If you've never seen one of these before, I usually carry one of these guys. I'm not going to do this. This is not a commercial. I just wanted to show you something, okay? You've probably all heard of these things and seen these things. But these are very good to have if you're in a very, very tight situation, okay? Like if you're very low on funds, you live in an apartment, you know everything that's going on, but you're trying to figure out how to survive if things get bad. You could get, you know, a 1 gallon of extra gasoline, 5 or 10 gallons of water, get some water purification tablets, get some very fundamental tools. If you have to, even get one of these. All of that stuff. And, you know, okay, here's an example. Like over here, we have a little tiny pair of scissors. Very valuable. In other words, I've kind of lived my whole life. I have to be able to move. I have a modest suitcase and a backpack, and that's it. I have to be able to do everything with a suitcase and a backpack, laptop, phone, and that's about it. So sometimes you have to be extremely limited in what you do. Then here's another example of another tool. You know, there's a little screwdriver there, a bottle opener there, another bigger bottle opener here. Over here is a larger screwdriver, and so on. Ways for cutting cable, cutting rope, and so on. And then there is I'll put these away, and here is a little, like a saw blade, you know? This is very high grade steel, okay? You got one of these in your truck. Yeah, this particular brand is this is a Gerber. Let's see if it shows up here on the camera. Anyway, this is a G-E-R-B, the Gerber brand. And I think they're wonderful. Very, very handy. Oops, sorry, excuse me. You got to be pretty good with your fingers, nimble with your fingers, and be safe and be careful. There's a belt clip over here. Here is a little Phillips head screwdriver, a very handy size, not too big, not too small. And over here is another file, like for your nails or something, and another heavier screwdriver on that end, okay? It's a great little tactical thing. And then there's a gorgeous little knife. This is really good for, I guess, like whittling wood. Very handy little device there. So there's all of that stuff. And they all have safety locks on each one of them. So hopefully you don't hurt yourself too much. And of course, a pair of pliers, a pair of cutters, and another grabber in there, okay? Yeah, this is fantastic. You could be a dentist, you could be a surgeon, you could be an auto technician, you can be a burglar, whatever you want with when you have one of these. And look, it's only that big. So there, I just wanted to share that. It makes me look like I do commercials. Yeah. I was talking with my dear friend Love Triber about the changes that we have witnessed over the last 5 years or so. I like to go back to my seminal book. As you know, this is my world famous book, Wealth, Money, Finance, all about global restructuring, and how we're heading into a massive storm of change and upheaval. The first spark of the storm happened in January 2020, and now we are deep into the storm, and it's going to go on for, I would say, another 7 years or so. The actual full extent of the storm, of course, will be Pluto and Aquarius over the 20-year journey, but we're already into that. So let's say it's 19 years. So over that time, once we come out of that, Pluto's going to be in Pisces, and it's going to be a very, very different world. I think we're going to see a new form of abundance, and on the way to that abundance, our species is going to, I think, do a lot of despicable things to itself as it learns to operate within the constraints of its border, okay? Because it's really only in the last 150 years that our species has realized that we are constrained by a border that is actually our planet. Elon Musk wants to go beyond, but reality is that it'll be a while, if ever. I think this planet is amazing. I absolutely love this planet. It's heartbreaking to see the damage that we do to our oceans and our skies, our animals and so on. But anyway, we can't help ourselves. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to take up your evening, folks. It's been a pleasure to hang out. I'll try to keep reporting what I can. Again, remember, you have to filter. I have to filter everything through my own lens, my own perspective. It's like you have to go through layers and layers and layers. So you see all the drama on the mainstream media. You see all the social media stuff and the people hating on each other, and the No Kings protests, all the fraud, waste, and abuse, all the scandals, and the politicians, and the Epsteins, and all that stuff. It's all pretty nauseating and gross. I feel more concerned towards much deeper issues to do with, like, the survival of the species. So that's why I focus so heavily on Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto on the global scale, because it does affect everybody. For example, what Trump is doing in Iran affects the whole world, like it or not. And here's the thing. I was trying to explain this to Love Triber, that the world as we know it has been a certain way for generations, okay? I've been around long enough to know what it was like before Iran became the terror cell that it is now. But the system that still operates is an extortion racket. It's a protection racket run by the old British Empire from London through the City of London, and the banking cartel that operates through London. The banking cartels are what you would already suspect. It's small groups of families that have family networks that go through the global banking system, which is centralized in London, with a proxy in America called the Federal Reserve, and then there's the secondary chain of all the central banks around the world, and at the pivot center is the Bank of International Settlements, through which everything flows. It's a currency. Currencies flow. And that whole system is being disrupted because it's based on debasement of currency and the issuance of debt in such a way that it looks like this is the only model for existence. And it doesn't actually have to be that way. The model is the way it is because it serves the people who own and operate the model. That is the globalists, the banking cartels, and the elites at the very, very, very top. And what it is, it's an extraction mechanism using extortionism and protectionism to get that out of us, put it all up there into the bank vaults of themselves for their benefit at our loss. Now, it's a balancing act because we have to stay alive and prosper to a certain extent as individuals in order that energy can be harvested from our beings. Okay? So they can't just kill us off completely as much as they would like to. The extreme globalists want to get rid of 7 billion people. But the more realistic globalists are thinking like, well, how are we going to extract wealth from the people if there's no people to harvest? We are being harvested, okay? So Trump is trying to end that system. So the system is trying to fight back. The system is the globalists at the very top, the extortion racket, protection racket, centered and pivoted around Iran, because oil and gas and energy are the bedrock foundation of our survival. So you just connect the dots and it all works together. And you can see why the globalists are pissed, because Trump is dismantling that whole thing. He's basically, it's like a gangster movie, okay? Necessary, you would probably understand, or the Italian, Greek Italians, you would probably understand. The gangsters have been owning and running and operating the system for a long time. It's stable. It's the status quo. Everybody goes along with it. Generations have been born and raised and live and die inside that system. They don't know anything else. That's just how life is. But Donald Trump and his team, basically Peter Navarro, Scott Bessent, J.D. Vance, Jameson Greer, and Marco Rubio, and all the American system team in his cabinet are saying, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're going back to the American system, which is good for America, the American people, American industry, American employment, American prosperity, American health, American quality food, American clean skies, American clean water, American opportunity, American growth. That's what I want. I know what that's like. I've had a taste of that when I was a little tiny kid. I know what that America is like. And so does Trump, and that's why he wants it back. That's why he has become this mythological, larger-than-life creature fighting and representing to restart the American Revolution. Again, 1776 revisited. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's reconstituting the Constitution. And that's a big problem, because it's essentially the same set of wars that happened 250 years ago. 285, 75, 65, 50 years ago, to give the middle finger to the British Empire. We're doing the same thing today, but it's 250 years later. The British Empire reinfected us in 1913. It's time to shed that old system. We're not there yet. We can't do it because it is so fundamental to our existence. It's like we're addicted to a system. We can't just shut it off or we would die. So everything is being systematically dismantled. And one of the big steps right now is dismantling the protection racket, the extortion racket, which is operated out of Iran. The owner-operators are over there in the city of London. Figure that out. But it affects the whole world, and also, incidentally, by taking out the extortion racket, the protection racket, oil prices eventually are going to go down, and all the big oil corporations, including American, are going to have to live with lower oil prices, which of course goes against the globalists. So in the meantime, like I mentioned earlier, all those countries that are utterly dependent on the oil coming out of the Middle East, they're scrambling right now because they've lived under the extortion and protection for almost 50 years. They don't know anything else, and they never prepared. They just assumed it would always just keep going this way, like, oh, we just got another tankers coming into Iran, coming from Iran to China, to Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, Indonesia, Japan, all of that. Well, that's all being upended. What was that? If there's no people, there's no show. The CEO of a company I work for had that on his door to his office. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you see, that's the point. What's the point if you don't have any customers? What's the point of being a tyrannical monster? I control and own the world if I don't have anything to control and own. Yeah, anyway, so you get my drift. It's going to happen incrementally. It's going to be in chunks and stages. Let me just quickly wrap out with the chart here for you. The biggest, deepest aspect of the change is going to be over here, the 20-year revolution for freedom. Freedom will prevail over the tyranny. The 14-year journey to get rid of all the evil, the fraud, the waste, the abuse, the scum, and the nasty, disgusting things that people do to children. Get rid of all that. Get rid of the nasty, disgusting things that we do to our air, our water, our land, our skies. That all has to be challenged. And then we have the 7-year journey over here of dismantling and getting rid of the ancient legacy financial system. So 20, 14, 7. So the increments that we will feel most obviously will be the Saturn 3-year increment here, then the 7-year journey here, then the 14-year journey here, the 20-year journey here. The longer and deeper the journey, the harder it is to observe and quantify and basically report, because the subjects move so slowly according to our time frame as a species. We think in terms of hours, minutes, and a few days here and there, give or take. What I'm talking about here happens over years. 7, 14, 20, okay? Yeah. USA! Yeah, if you get a chance, if you haven't seen it, go to my X and you can see the Kid Rock video. It's hilarious. It's just absolutely hilarious. There's Kid Rock sitting outside his mansion, staring over his infinity edge swimming pool, and then suddenly these two massive helicopters, American Army helicopters, move right in and go in and look at him and kind of go, and then they fly off. It's sort of like the Trump dance, you know? It was absolutely hilarious. And of course it got major headlines. And people are asking me, Kid Rock, what are you going to do? The army's after you. Are you a traitor? And Kid Rock said something like, I don't think I got a problem here. Not too much because, you know, the commander-in-chief, that guy over there, he's my best buddy. Okay, so calm down, people. All right, on that happy note, take care, everybody. Good night. Look after yourselves. Protect your money. Protect your privacy. Protect yourself. Protect your stuff. Make sure you got water, self-defense, as much cash as you can hoard as possible, keeping it safe and dry as possible, and all that stuff, okay? Good night.